Just a little housekeeping before we get going. There will be time for questions at the end, so please enter your questions in the Q&A at any time. And Leslie O'Malley, the Waste Reduction Program Manager for the City of Santa Cruz, will be moderating our questions tonight. And if we don't get to your questions online, we'll certainly work to answer them offline. This call is being recorded, but all participants are on mute and cameras are set to off, so no need to worry about a Zoom oops, as I like to call them. I also wanted to take a moment to remind everyone of the raffle at the end of this talk. You must be present for the whole call to qualify, so be sure to stick around. And if you want to attend all three in the series, you can be entered to win a compost bin or an equally valuable prize if the bin does not work for you. So definitely stick around and come back next time. Another reminder, the second two webinars will be held the first Tuesday evening of May and June. Those webinars can be signed up for on the same Eventbrite link where you signed up for this one. I will also send reminders out to all on this call about those different times. And like tonight, the series will also follow a journey. So again, this evening, we'll explore food from farm to table. Then the second webinar on May 4th will be a freestyle cooking demo and will include more tips on how you can reduce waste in your own kitchen and save money. And the third webinar on June 1st will be an overall food waste warrior and warrioress boot camp, exploring the ways you can take further action to reduce food waste in our greater community. Here is a brief agenda to give you a taste of what's coming this evening. We sort of have a lightning style webinar with lots and lots of speakers for you. So we'll start with defining food waste and hear about how reducing food waste feeds right into the city's climate goals. Then we'll move on to our three guest speakers and then open it up to questions. And of course, the raffle, which the prizes are shown here, a stainless steel bento box and a great book. So definitely stick around. So briefly here, I will talk about what food waste is and is not. So food waste, or better termed wasted food, is any food that was once edible, but for one reason or another has been discarded instead of consumed. Examples of that include rotten produce, moldy bread, or uneaten, unsaved, plated food. Food scraps, on the other hand, are any scraps that are traditionally inedible, like peels, eggshells, and bones. And while the composting of food scraps is certainly encouraged, we want to avoid having to compost wasted food that has been left to go bad, right? The real solution is source reduction and eating or sharing that food before it has a chance to be wasted. After all, composting wasted food still means all the resources that went into creating that food have not gone to feeding humans, which is the top priority after source reduction. So now that you have more of an idea of what food waste really is, I want you to ask yourselves, are you maybe wasting more food than you thought? And so why does all of this matter in the first place? Well, it is estimated that on average, 2 of every 5 grocery bags of food goes to waste in the United States. So imagine if you just spent $100 on your weekly groceries, but decided to throw $40 of that food right into the trash. Horrific, right? So taking this example, that amounts to over $2,000 in a year. I suggest trying this calculation with your own grocery bills. The outcome, no matter the amount, is sure to spark some motivation for behavior change in you and maybe your family. So reducing the amount of food that goes to the landfill is not only important for your wallet, but also because according to Dana Gunders, this woman in the photo here, author of the Waste-Free Kitchen Handbook, which is a gift of the raffle this evening, getting food from the farm to our forks eats up 10% of the total US energy budget, uses 50% of US land, and swallows 80% of all freshwater consumed in the United States. Yet 40% of food in the United States today goes uneaten. This not only means that Americans are throwing out the equivalent of $165 billion each year of food, but also that the uneaten food ends up rotting in landfills as the single largest component of US municipal solid waste, where it accounts for a large portion of US methane emissions. So as you can see, Reducing food waste is not only important for the wallet, but also for the planet. And part of the reason for hosting this webinar series is to shed some light on the sustainability goals here in the city of Santa Cruz. Since the inception of the city's climate action plan in 2012, the city has been moving towards a more sustainable future for our community. And the plan recognizes the impacts of landfilled foods such as excess methane production. And actually, methane emissions from the landfill have been reduced by 62% due to reductions in disposal tonnage of other resources. So by being here this evening, you are certainly helping to learn about reducing those impacts even further by keeping food out of the landfill. So thank you. Give yourselves a quick pat on the back for that. So that was lots and lots of information, I know, but let's take it back to that story and journey of food waste, and let's move on to our three speakers for this evening. So taking us through our journey tonight will be Javier Zamora of JSM Organics Farm, Christy Locatelli of Wild Roots Market in Felton, and Michael Mitchell from Gray Bears Donation Center. So let's start from the beginning. A farm where all food is born and grown. What are the unique challenges that food waste faces at a farm? Well, let's ask Javier. Javier Zamora is the owner of JSM Organics, where he and his team grow fruits, veggies, and flowers on 200 acres of land in the beautiful Monterey County. Committed to growing his food organically, choosing sustainable packaging, and growing with the rhythms of Mother Nature, Javier is passionate about healthy plants and happy, healthy people. What a privilege to have Javier join us to give us his perspective on food on his farm. So Javier, I wanted to just first highlight with this slide some of the great products you grow. And if you want to take it from here, it's all yours. I think you need to there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being part of this workshop webinar, communicating about what we do and how can we make it better. Yes, my name is Javier Zamora, and I'm probably about 25 minutes away from beautiful Santa Cruz, and we're in Las Lomas, Aromas area, Royal Oaks. We grow strawberries, vegetables, flowers, and all sorts of veggies organically, certified organic. And it's just a pleasure for me to be an individual that can contribute to our broken food system that we are experiencing these days, and some of the ways that unfortunately it's happening. So thank you for inviting me.
Great. Yeah. So with that being said, can you begin to talk to us a bit about some of the challenges that are unique on a farm that food waste faces?
So some of the challenges for a farm like mine, that it's still a small, getting to be like a mid-sized farm. We don't always have the clientele, the customer, or the marketing tools to make sure that everything that we grow gets sold. And as you can see on the trailer, I mean, there's lots of pounds of strawberries that got thrown away, not because they were bad or people didn't like them on it. And it was just unfortunate that this last year we had some challenges, like we all know, with COVID. So my school districts that we normally sell our strawberries to were closed, and the heirloom tomatoes, I mean, the restaurants that normally buy those tomatoes were not open. And then you see peaches that they never got picked up. And so there are a lot of challenges, not only marketing, but the logistics sometimes to bring them to people in the city that perhaps would benefit for it. So we need to have some sort of partnerships, not only with food banks, but probably some churches or some people in the community that can send someone to pick up some of the veggies that sometimes are going bad or we have to throw away because they are not being sold. And it's not that we're planting an exaggerated amount of veggies. It's just things happen, and sometimes Mother Nature sometimes send us more that we can sell. And unfortunately, if we don't have anybody that comes and pick them up, if I'm all about having someone, from the city or the church say, Javier, maybe Monday or Tuesday, or give us a call when you have extra things, and we'll make sure they get donated to someone in need.
Great. And you mentioned Mother Nature. Sometimes Mother Nature likes to produce imperfect produce, and not everybody likes to consume imperfect produce, even though most of us here probably don't mind a blemish or a wobbly strawberry like that. But what are your experiences with that and dealing with?
Well, I think the issue here is imperfect humans, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with veggies that are grown in a natural way with no pesticides. But unfortunately, customers, they look at things sometimes and they see something that it's probably misshapen or has a little scratch, or it didn't develop properly, and they don't want that, because there's plenty of things that are beautiful. They're probably not educated on how those things are made beautiful, sometimes with the use of pesticides or some of the chemicals that will make them look really beautiful. So unfortunately, strawberries that are misshapen, or they didn't develop properly because of a pest pressure or something, they get thrown in the ground. People like those really beautiful shapen strawberries, and so we have to discard the ones that are not beautiful and perfect. And sometimes, if the cell, let's see, I see a celery there on my slideshow. I mean, if the celery is not thick enough, it's not big enough, sometimes people don't want that. They want the good size celery, and Mother Nature doesn't really send you every piece of every strawberry or every stalk of celery the same. So I think we have to educate ourselves a little more and understand that not because something doesn't look beautiful, it's not necessarily good, or you shouldn't buy it. I think we just need to educate ourselves a little more and learn.
Yeah, thanks. And I think that's exactly what all of us are trying to do this evening. So and lastly, how does your team and how can we as consumers help to reduce the food waste at a farm directly? Do you have any tips or advice on how we can play a role in helping farms avoid this?
Absolutely. I guess one of the most important things is for the consumers kind of understanding where their food's coming from and who's producing the food. In our area, we're really blessed because we have a lots of small farms that if you wanted to eat, direct from locally, you could. But there's a little bit of work that needs to be done, and unfortunately, not everybody is willing to do that. What you should know where your food comes from. Our food shouldn't go to San Francisco and then make its way back to Santa Cruz because people don't buy it directly. I really, really encourage people to keep buying at a farmer's market, but make sure you also can visit the farm and understand what's going on at the farm. So you really get the full picture of who's growing the food. That's one thing. Obviously, a lot of the things that we can do is use packaging that you can reuse. We take a lot of pride on the way we do things and the way we package our strawberries and lots of our raspberries. I mean, I think this year our packaging will probably be close to 90% plastic free, actually, which is really, really good. I mean, I have such a good partnership with Sombrilo that they develop this ready cycle packaging that you can put in your compost, but you can reuse a couple of times. So those things, and I mean, I shouldn't say don't buy a lot of food, because buy what you need. But if you happen to buy a lot, if you have the means of buying a lot, share it with somebody else. I mean, I think in our communities, we don't do a lot of that. We always talk about doing the right thing, but not so many people do that. I think I'm one of those guys that if you take the time to come and visit the farm, you'll probably walk away here with, a beautiful, box of goodies that we produce, and I'm not gonna charge you for it. I mean, I'm not saying everybody come in and I'm gonna give you the farm for free, but if you take the time to understand what we do and where your food's coming from, I'm gonna make sure you get something in return. So as humans, we can all, and individuals, we locally can do many, many, many things, supporting the small family farms, buying local, buy what you need. And if you have extra, share it with somebody else. I'm sure you can do one of those things.
Great tips, and great to get us started with this journey. Thank you, Javier. That was really great information. And yeah, let's go visit Javier.
Absolutely.
All right, so now to the middle of our journey, the grocery store. Christy Locatelli, along with her family, own Wild Roots Grocery in Felton. And she has lots of experience watching what foods come in and out of the store, from packaging flaws to food temperature regulations. The grocery store and food retail sector certainly has lots to consider when it comes to extending the shelf life of food. So let's learn about food on its trip through the grocery store and how Christy and her team work to keep food away from the landfill. Thanks, Christy, for being here. Take it away.
You have to unshare your screen.
Oh, thank you.
It's technology. Okay, are we seeing the correct screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here because this is an important topic for everybody in the industry, from farmers all the way to end consumers. So it's a nice way to start the discussion. Sorry, whoops. So today I was asked to discuss a market's role in food waste. After an introduction and a little bit about Wild Roots, I wanted to discuss the perishable departments we have in the store. I'll focus on our two biggest departments, produce and deli. I'll then discuss our food diversion programs and food waste goals. I am the fourth generation born and raised here in San Lorenzo Valley. I attended Cal Poly and received my bachelor's in animal science with a concentration in livestock production and agribusiness. I then moved home and started working in the office while attending Santa Clara University to receive my MBA with an emphasis in food and agribusiness. I decided to stay with the stores and have had many responsibilities throughout my tenure here. I'm very passionate about our industry and realize the importance of our responsibility in the food chain. My parents started the business actually way back in 1974. My dad's a pharmacist by trade. We had Boulder Creek Pharmacy and Felton Pharmacy. He had an opportunity to purchase Roy's Market in 1991, which was a conventional market next door to our pharmacy. He moved the pharmacy into the store, but realized there was a need to change the type of food we sold from a conventional, and had an opportunity to become a licensee of New Leaf Community Market in 1994. We branched out in 2018 and became Wild Roots Market, and we just celebrated our 3rd anniversary this past Friday. So a little bit about us. What is important to us is we want everybody to know your food, know your farmer, and know your roots. We were the first certified organic retailer in the United States in 2000 through CCOF. And at that time, we made a pledge to be 100% organic and local produce. We have long-term relationships with farmers that are going back more than 25 years. And we are family owned and operated. And like I said, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. Bit about our beliefs. It's our mission to provide locally grown, ethically sourced food from farmers and purveyors we know and trust. We source 100% organic and local produce. We were the first certified organic retailer in the United States in 2000. We have made from scratch deli, organic bakery, full service meat counter, sustainable seafood, a great selection of local beer and wine, and a knowledgeable staff in our wellness department. We proudly serve the San Lorenzo Valley and are active participants in helping our local schools and nonprofits. As I mentioned, I was asked to discuss inventory management in a natural food market, specifically in our perishable departments. We have multiple departments that manage perishable foods at different levels. This includes the produce, deli, perishable department that includes dairy and eggs, the meat department, cheese department, and bulk department. Some departments or products in departments are more perishable than others, giving them a short shelf life. Our goal is to have the freshest product on the shelf. This can be challenging because there's a fine line of managing products to be fully stocked, not having any out of dates, and not being out of stock of products. We encourage customers to shop seasonally by displaying and promoting local produce that is in season and at its peak. Seasonal products will be well displayed in produce department with complimentary dishes found in the deli case. We adjust our ordering for holidays to account for favorite food trends. Thanksgiving week is the busiest of the year. We will stock up in the bulk department for baking supplies, in produce department with squash, potatoes, green beans, cranberries, Brussels sprouts, and other holiday favorites. We offer traditional trimmings in the deli. A lot of meat, milk, cream, butter, and eggs are sold in the perishable department. Wonderful pies are made in the bakery, and of course, hundreds of turkeys from the meat department are sold that week. Other holidays might feature different departments, like barbecue fixing for Memorial, Labor Day, and 4th of July, or prepared quiches from the deli for Easter. Much of our success is due to the knowledgeable department managers we have. Many have been with us for 15, 20, and more than 25 years. We are very proud of the loyalty that we have with our employees. Our produce department is the highlight of our stores. We feature nearly 100% organic produce. Customers have been trained to look for the perfect piece of produce without any blemishes. Produce is rotated daily on the wet and dry racks to have the ripest produce towards the front. We also must be aware of our customers' desired level of ripeness for immediate consumption or to be consumed at a later date. Oftentimes, the best tasting fruit isn't sought after because of its looks. We have many long-term relationships with local farmers that have allowed us to get the best product possible for our customers. One of our highlights are the strawberries and dry farm tomatoes we receive from Sea Level Farm. They are always a favorite. One way we maintain the precious produce is by receiving direct from the farm instead of through our distributor. This allows the produce to get to the store faster and be fresher. We also receive from our primary produce distributor 3 days a week. Most produce is delivered in a refrigerated truck. We try to immediately prep the produce and get it out on the floor. The rest is stored in walk-in coolers. Excuse me. If there is a blemish and it is unusable on the sale rack or unsaleable, we will cull it to the bakery or deli or for our employees to consume. The bakery will take cold fruit to make our pies. The deli takes veggies to make stock, use in soups, or to put roasted in the hot bar. If it isn't cold for human consumption, it is put in the livestock feed bins. We make produce scraps and coals available for our customers to take home to their chickens or other livestock or pets. Very little produce scraps end up in our food waste bins for composting from produce department. Our deli department. To maximize efficiencies and minimize waste, we built a commissary kitchen in 2014. This kitchen allows us to produce most of the food in the deli cases and grab-and-go cases for both stores. It is also home to Sunflower Bakehouse that produces all our delicious baked goods. Our food service manager works hard to maintain a production schedule that balances out-of-stock items and expired items. We pride ourselves on the seasonal dishes we offer in the case. Our food service manager works closely with our produce manager to feature fresh local produce in our deli case. We make nearly all our deli items from scratch, including our veggie and chicken stock. We also will upcycle our roasted veggies into soup purees. Anything that is about to expire is given to our employees. Our food diversion programs. Our first choice is always to upcycle produce and meat to the bakery and deli to create a delicious dish for our customers. What can't be sold, or there isn't enough for a dish, or is about to expire in the deli is made available to our employees. We donate food daily to Valley Churches, a local nonprofit in San Lorenzo Valley. They take day-old bread and other cold products for the food pantry. Our philosophy is not to waste food. When the CZU complex fire hit, we quickly contacted the Watsonville Food Bank and put 6 pallets together, perishable foods for them to pick up and distribute. We also went through both stores and gave the Boulder Creek, Ben Lomond, and Felton volunteer fire departments meat, produce, and dairy products to be prepared to feed the firefighters at the stations. We also donated meat and produce to the World Central Kitchen in conjunction with Mudari Chocolate, who then prepare meals for the first responders during the fire. All produce scraps from prepping and some culls are offered daily to customers for livestock feed. We work hard in our kitchens to separate all items. The green trash cans are for food scraps, the gray is for trash, and the blue is for recycling. We are part of a food waste program with green waste to separate food scraps to prevent it from going to the landfill. Instead, it goes to compost piles. That's the yellow trash bin. Some of our food waste goals. We always want to limit what goes to the landfill. This is a goal for all our departments throughout the store. We separate food waste from the rest of the trash so it doesn't go to the landfill and is composted instead. We use reusable containers while prepping in the bakery and deli to limit waste, and we offer all our deli products in compostable packaging. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It is an honor to be a part of this group discussing food waste at all levels. We take our role in the food chain very seriously and want to minimize our impact the best we can. Thank you. These are our store locations in Felton and Boulder Creek, both on Highway 9. And you can contact us here at our email and phone here in the office. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. That was some really great information. I love hearing about all the different diversion avenues that you have, from the livestock feed to sorting to sharing scraps and foods with employees and using it in baking. It's great. So you've got lots of different options.
So we try to.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful. All right, so let's get back here really quickly. So finally, we are coming towards the end of our journey here. And we've got Michael Mitchell. And just one second here. So Michael Mitchell is a passionate Compost Club volunteer at Gray Bears Donation Center. And he's here to talk to us about the end of the journey for food donation, and as the last resort, but better than the landfill, composting. In a perfect world, the end of life for food is someone's stomach, which at Gray Bears, they make their main goal. But when food can no longer be eaten, it must be composted, which Gray Bears also offers when food waste prevention is no longer an option. Here is Michael to share more. Take it away.
Hello. How's it going, everyone? It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, as Kayla was saying, I'm a volunteer with the compost club at Gray Bears. I'm also a member of the local compost cooperative, Hardcore Compost. We ride bicycles around town in Santa Cruz and pick up food waste from people's homes, and turn it into great soil. So I'm very much a compost fanatic, and I'm happy to be here to talk about something I care about so much. Um, so jumping into Gray Bears, for those of you who aren't familiar with this recycling mecca, it's a nonprofit who does everything from recycling styrofoam, having a thrift store, taking cardboard, other typical recyclables, as well as one of their main goals is to provide meals for the elderly in the community. And one of their missions, or their main mission, is to improve the health and well-being of seniors in our community through food distribution, volunteerism, resource conservation, and recycling. And so for a little history, it was founded in 1973 by Christina Mallard, who was a UCSC alumni, and her partner at the time, Gary Denny. And they noticed this need in the community, that there was many hungry seniors, and they started by reaching out to local farms and homes, and got extra produce and then started distributing it there. And yeah, we can go to the next slide. So today, Gray Bear still gleans a good amount of produce, but the majority of the food that gets distributed is from 20 different grocery stores in the area, and it happens on both a weekly and daily basis. As we were talking about earlier, these donations are coals, or what we call them are spoils. And so what is a spoil? We kind of talked about this already this evening, but it's everything from imperfect produce, day-old bread, a carton of eggs that has one egg cracked, dented boxes and cans, anything that just doesn't really look sellable. And like one of the main things as well is stuff that is near or past its expiration date. And many of this food is available to places like Gray Bears or Second Harvest Food Bank, because of something called the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act. And this was a recent one was, or this act was passed in 2017, which expanded current laws and protections for both groups and individuals who were donating food to these nonprofits and food banks. This is because the way our society is run is that everybody wants to sue each other over something, and this helps people just be decent humans and give food that would otherwise go to the garbage to people who would really appreciate it. And this has helped increase the amount of food that Gray Bears receives, which has been a blessing overall, but has also shown one of the biggest challenges for both Gray Bears and the food system overall. Next slide. Yeah, and this glaring issue is there's just too much food, both that we produce in the world, as well as how much ends up getting thrown away, as well as how much gets donated to Gray Bears. We talked about how about 40% of groceries that are purchased usually end up in the landfill, as well as the fact that I think something that I like to visualize is that like the amount of energy that is needed every year to grow and ship all the food that ends up in the landfill is the equivalent to the annual US production of oil from offshore oil rigs. So it's not only something that has like the direct impact of greenhouse gas emissions or nutrient loss from things just being thrown away and not recycled, but as well as this issue of some of these other finite resources like oil and natural gas and all these things that propel our food system forward just end up getting wasted. So it's a big issue. And to quote Danielle Wong, who is the program director of Gray Bears, we're spoiled with how much food we have and how much access we have to it. We're so used to being able to get any piece of produce we want at any time of the year. And if you see something you have at home, just, a banana is starting to go a little too brown or something like that. It's just, we're trained to just go buy something else and throw the thing away. And so, we overlook lots of these things, and even things like in our fridge that say it goes past the expiration date. oftentimes we just end up throwing it out without even looking at it. And this brings up a good question of like, why is this so? Why are we kind of trained to view things this way? And I personally believe that a big part of it is because these large food companies are putting expiration dates, they're for liability reasons, to both protect us, the consumers, so we don't eat anything that is bad for us, but also to protect themselves. And they're driven primarily by profit. And so it's their advantage to have more food be thrown away or get out, so that more stores and more individuals have to buy it continually. So, and like sometimes the dates that are on food, they're not expiration dates. Like, sometimes it's on, it's a best by date or enjoy by, something that like we typically just, or I think that we just overlook and think of it as something that is like, if it passes the date, it must not be good, instead of relying on our own senses. I encourage everyone to, use their old sniffer, their eyeballs, check the food out. Does it smell bad? Does it look bad? If it probably is past the date a little bit, like yogurt, it's just, doing its yogurt thing. The probiotics are happening, all those happy microbes. It's just getting more yogurty. It's not going bad. But anyways, a little rant there. So all this spoiled food, in the year 2019, Gray Bears was able to redistribute about 3 million pounds of this, which is amazing. It's an astonishing amount of food that you would think would just go to waste. But still, a lot of this food beyond that never even reached a human mouth. So we can hit that next slide. So my opinion, don't waste it, compost it. So some of this food that is the spoil is food is not fit for human consumption. And that's because, that's why it ended up there in the first place. Like the spinach is slimy, or, things aren't looking that great. And that's what the great thing at Gray Bears is. It's a system all about reusing, connecting, sustaining, reducing. And that food will then usually end up going in the compost bin. But a lot of it as well, doesn't, it's just too much food that Gray Bears receives and never gets distributed in the first place. So a lot of that ends up going in the compost bins as well. But the cool thing about this compost operation is that, it's on a community scale. So it's fairly manageable by a group of volunteers. There's a great guy named Don Baker, who is a Gray Bears employee that runs it and helps direct us, the volunteers, on a weekly basis on what to do. And there's these crazy machines, or these in-vessel composters that have these spinning augers in them that can be put in and out, and then it's spun. It's a little, one of the pictures didn't show up, but a little bit hard to see, but like there's like a handle down there. That handle is then put to the outside, and then you spin it around on a rotation basis. I compare it to a medieval torture device, or something that like would be drawn by donkeys or horses. But it's a great way to be physical, and it reduces a lot of energy that's needed to manage this compost. And so another great thing about this is that the finished compost from these undistributed spoils is then sold at the thrift store at Gray Bears. So not only is it benefiting Gray Bears overall, but it's also benefiting the local community and the local food web. We're keeping those nutrients from going to the landfill and helping out people's gardens. And it's something that it's almost every week that they sell out of the compost that we can produce, and people are always asking for more. So it's a great thing to be part of. And we can hit to the next slide. And so, through this effort by this, this crew of people, we're able to process about 1,000 pounds of food waste a week. So it's an amazing amount, and it's really astonishing to think about, but a good portion of it still ends up being thrown away. And that's for a variety of reasons. Sometimes the limit to the scale of our system. Oftentimes we'll receive whole pallets of just one thing. And some of these items work really well in large amounts, but the big thing about compost is you want to keep balance. And if you get a whole pallet of onions or citrus, too much of that can make your compost really acidic, which isn't good for plants. It can produce nasty smells. It can start breaking down anaerobically, which is then releasing greenhouse gases on their own. And it's something that it's really tough when you also see how much food shows up and doesn't get distributed and can't be composted and then just still ends up being thrown away. And that's kind of where my main point here with compost is that it's a great solution. I really like it, but it's a solution to a symptom of the problem in our food system of generally overproduction and over wasting. It's something that, like, we have so many finite resources on this planet. Compost is a great way to recycle that and get it back into our system and prevent it from going to the landfill. But it's really made me question, like, this time and this experience here and just seeing how much food is just available. For me, as being, I just recently graduated college, just trying to support myself on my own. The food bank there has been a huge boon to my well-being, being able to support myself, and like seeing it's like, whoa, how much food is just available all the time. And then when I do go to a grocery store, I see how much food is on the shelves, and it's just like overwhelming sometimes to think about how much that gets cycled in and out and just ends up getting, thrown away. I really appreciate you letting me be here and give my spiel, and that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. That was wonderful. And yes, the importance of donation, but what do you do when there is too much of it? And I really like the point about composting is a solution to a symptom of the problem of overproduction. And if you really think about composting, it might just even be the start again of this whole food waste journey. So if we do have to compost, it's not the end of the world, but it's much better than landfilling, right? So thank you again to all of our speakers and attendees for walking through this entire journey, or maybe sprinting through this journey of food tonight. I think we can all agree that preventing food from becoming waste in the first place is the most important goal. And just being exposed to, all of the steps it takes for that strawberry to make it into your smoothie can really, I think, inspire us to think differently about our food. So before we get to questions and raffle, I really want to say that I hope to see all of the audience members back for the next webinar in May, where we'll get to see a freestyle food demo and look at practical tips to use every day in your own home to avoid wasted food. And remember to sign up, but hopefully I'll be able to send out an email reminder to all of you attendees as well. So now let's see if we have got any questions. I'll turn it over to Leslie for questions to the panelists.
We do have some questions. I think between those three presenters, we had a really good just cross-section of information and kind of a lot of answers built in there. So first question we have is, Javier, do you work with Imperfect Foods out of San Francisco? It's a food delivery service.
I haven't yet, but I heard of them, and I'm, hoping and wishing for someone to get in touch with us, and then we'll go ahead and start a relationship with them.
Awesome. Let's see. So this next question this could be to anyone. I bet you all can answer it. So I'll let you popcorn it and see who's going to get it first. Could freezing or pureeing excess yields, produce or fruit, be a solution to divert the food from becoming waste? Couldn't this also be another source of income if there is a market for it? It could also be called a circular system.
Can I, this is where we need the big whale with the lots of money. And someone that has, seriously, someone that has a good sense of community, and sometimes they don't know what to do with their money. If you look around, or even, I'm not saying to give us money to do something, but I think setting something up, like if you come around Watsonville, maybe in August, late July, early August, when the schools district are closed and everybody's on vacation on a normal year, that's when the strawberry production is at its peak, and we just don't know what to do with so many of them. Why don't we get somebody that has the money and has a place and can freeze them for some sort of community gatherings, or even a business, or dry freezing them? There's many ways of doing it, but it's just, unfortunately, there is just, a handful of big companies that pay you very little for any strawberries that are perfectly okay, but it's just you just have too many of them.
Mhm.
So it's not really sustainable for a small grower to sell those to them. It would make a lot more sense to actually have somebody, in Watsonville or Pajaro, set up a place where they can freeze dry them, or they can freeze them, and they can give them to other communities far away that have no way of getting any fresh, tasty strawberries from Watsonville. That's where we need those big wallet people to get together with some crazy people like ourselves that can actually make something happen. Um, and that's just one example of strawberries. You can do that with zucchinis. You can do that with tomatoes. You can do that with Brussels sprouts. You can do that with green beans. I mean, it's just an array of things that unfortunately get thrown away and are not utilized. It's a shame, but
Yeah.
that will change. I know there's somebody probably out there paying attention.
I agree. And like Christy mentioned, just in that particular setting, using it in another aspect, maybe, they are able to make smoothies over there. There is a local person, Tabitha Stroop, who has a company, Terroir in a Jar, that I understand she works with small growers to kind of get those products into shelf stable shrubs and scrubs and all sorts of cool things. All right, let's see. Let's go on to another question. This is for Christy. What kind of compostable packaging do you use? What's the main ingredient? Is it for convenience grab and go prepared food?
So we have a couple different products. From the hot bar, the kind of cardboard looking boxes are compostable. It is difficult to get because there's a lot of people wanting it in other stores, and it's hard to produce compostable plastic looking containers. So some have to still be recycled. Our smoothie cups are compostable. Our silverware is compostable. So it depends on the product, but we try to bring in as much compostable as we can. And when the supply is available, we try and have it all compostable. And the products are different. Some are corn-based, some are potato-ware for the silverware. Some are cellulose, a plant cellulose. So it varies.
Okay. Let's see. So this looks like it might be for Michael. How long does it take to compost wasted food to break down? Like, so how long is that process?
It's a great question. That could go many different directions. Depending on the scale of how much food you're breaking down, it can be broken down within a few months, with up to maybe say like 6 weeks. If you're doing composting in your backyard and have your own little composter, it might take a lot longer. Because you can't throw large amounts all at once. If you think about it's like it needs to reach sort of a critical mass for all the microbes to reach its most productive activity. So and that could take up maybe to 3 months. So it all really depends on the size of your scale and how much food you're trying to break down.
Okay. Thank you. So what resources are available that can tell us how long food will last in the refrigerator and the freezer? And before I turn it over to see if one of you'd like to answer, I'd just like to make a plug for a website called savethefood.org. It is full of tips and tricks and information about, this was another question, how do I know if something is really safe and I'm not going to get food poisoning from it? So savethefood.org, it'll help you figure out how to preserve and freeze. But do you guys have any tidbits you want to add to that? Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Javier.
I mean, Michael said something earlier, it's just common sense, it's just like smell it and look at it and see, it's just, let's see what else you can do with it if you have too much of something. But I mean, I think in our society, we've been trained to do things a certain way, and we end up wasting a lots of things. And wasting resources and not utilizing things, so allowing somebody else to benefit from it. I think humans, we just have to start using a little more common sense, or whether that, like you said, that was a good example about his yogurt. What is happening. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, I have my own daughters, and they're like, "Oh, the milk says today is the last day." It's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
the last day for you to go and empty your pocket and buy another gallon or whatever it is, just whatever. I think we
Right.
just
So yeah, so check out savethefood.org. They do give you some of those things, and also, so really, baby food is the only, and baby formula is the only thing that has a definite expiration date for safety. Let's see. So we got so many great questions. Javier, we've had a couple questions. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Do you have a quick website direction you want to send people to?
absolutely. I mean, it's just I got some really good kids that always put me on that Instagram, the JSM Organics. I mean, you can look at our website. You can just, our phone number is there. Just let us know when you want to come out. I mean, we'll make some time for you. I'm really proud. I'm really blessed that we can have a farm that it's actually independently owned. I mean, we will in the future, but I don't really have to have you sign a bunch of paperwork so you can come in and visit me. So that doesn't mean you're going to break a leg or anything like that. But I mean, it's just that if you are making the effort to come and see us, I mean, we'd love to have you here. And I think I'll do my very best to give you my 5 cents and educate you a little bit about what you're eating and what it takes for you to eat what you're eating.
Very good. Let's see, somebody's just pointed out that savethefood.org is not a good website. Gosh, I'm really sorry. It might be savethefood.com. Just Google Save the Food and that'll get you to the right place. Let's see, lots of nice comments. I know we have just a couple minutes left. We want to get to that raffle. We've had, I have to say, everyone has stayed on the whole entire call. So that is just a tribute to how interesting you guys have made this discussion. Let's see, for our quest, let me just find one more. Let's see. So Michael, not related to gray bears, but somebody has asked how they can get on the compost pickup list. So that might be for the hardcore program.
Yeah. Shameless plug. It is something I really care about and I think is really cool. If you want more information, you go to compost.bike. And we serve the Santa Cruz area all the way from the west side to 41st. So check the region and we'd love to be able to pick up some of your food scraps.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see. So for the other questions we didn't get to, we will direct those to the person you address them to, and we'll get you an answer. We'll get that followed up with you. Some great comments. We'll definitely pass those along to our speakers. So Kaylee, you ready to do a little raffle there?
I am, and I'm excited. Okay, so we had to preserve, the privacy of our attendees. So we assigned a random number to everybody. So we're just gonna do this quick little spin doodad we've got here and see what number comes up. And then whatever number it is, I will be contacting you via email tomorrow. So you won't know until tomorrow, but you'll have to be patient. But let's see, and I'll have to check that person is actually here. Okay, so number 20, let me just check here on my Excel sheet to my participants. And yes, they are here. Yay, great. Okay, so lucky number 20, yay.
Bravo.
And yeah. So I'll be contacting you via email tomorrow and you will find out sometime. So be excited. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for everybody who was here to speak this evening. I thought it was really informative and we really kind of went through a story, I feel like, and saw every little bit of that food journey. So thanks again and hope to see all of you on the second webinar, and we'll get questions answered as Leslie mentioned. So
gracias, muchachos.
Thank
Adios.
you.
Bye.
bye-bye.